Soup presents Inner Sanctum Mysteries, starring Irene Wicker. Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host inviting you in through the squeaking door. Ease yourself in. The welcome fat is out. Pick yourself a place to stand. You have several choices. You can stand in awe, or stand aghast, or stand rooted to the spot. Or if you find you can't stand it at all, just stretch out on the floor and lie still. You'll have plenty of company there before we get through with tonight's list of victims.
Good gracious, Mr. Host. I don't think I'd enjoy that company.
Well, they're not very lively, Mary. In fact, you may find them a little, stiff at first. But they won't interrupt if you want to talk.
And you know I do want to talk, Mr. Host. So suppose you go greet your other visitors while I have a little chat with our Lipton listeners. You know, folks, sometimes when you're trying to describe a thing, you find it's very hard to think of just the right word. But that doesn't apply when you set out to describe Lipton tea. For Lipton is so different from other teas. Its flavor is so extra special that there's a special word to describe it. Brisk. Yes, brisk is the tea expert's word for full-bodied, tangy flavor. Oh, but then why bother with words when Lipton itself can tell you so much more? You'll taste the difference right away and discover how much Lipton's brisk flavor adds to your enjoyment. Yes, with Lipton's you get all the goodness nature puts into tea. So for deep-down satisfaction, folks, fill your cup with brisk-flavored Lipton tea.
That's a good idea, Mary. And now, friends, if you'll just reach over and switch off those harsh, bright lights, we'll begin our story of The Creeping Walls by Sigmund Miller, starring Irene Wicker in the role of Karen Jeremy. Just let the soothing darkness envelop you like a straitjacket. You'll be surprised how nervous you'll feel. Here's Karen now.
Can you think of anything more absurd than being afraid of the walls in your own home? Why I should feel that way, I don't know. My husband Horace seems to think it's just a case of nerves. Walls are just made of wood and plaster. Still, they give me a queer feeling. Once, while sitting alone and reading, I had an odd sensation that the walls were tilting. I looked up, and sure enough, they were all leaning toward me. I closed my eyes, but when I opened them again, they were all straight again. Oh, it was a horrible experience. But a much worse thing happened to me last night. I was asleep, dreaming that I was sitting in front of my vanity, making myself pretty. I was alone. It was late at night. Suddenly, I noticed through the vanity mirror that the wall behind me was a little closer. I sat quite still for a moment. Then I turned round, and it was closer. You have to experience it to know what a dreadful feeling that is. Then I heard a crunching sound. The opposite wall also had moved nearer. I screamed. But it was only a whisper. Then all the four walls began to hem me in. They moved nearer and nearer. I could feel the cold of the walls filling the remaining space of the room. I was going to be crushed to death. There was a book of matches on the vanity. I lit a match and held it near the cold walls. They stopped moving. They were afraid of the heat. Then the match went out. The walls began to move again. I lit another match. They stopped. I held it until it burned itself out in my hand. I frantically lit another one, the last. It flared up, and then it died out. The walls began to move. They were just inches away now. And one of them touched my hand, icy cold and dreadful. In an agony of terror, I beat against the walls, and then I screamed with every breath of life in me.
Karen, what's the matter, dear?
Don't let them crush me. Help me, Horace.
Stop beating the walls. Karen, what is the matter with you, dear?
I'm dreaming. And the walls were closing in on me. I had to light matches to stop them. Oh, Horace, it was ghastly. I'll never forget it so long as I live.
Well, nightmares are always frightening, dear. You threw the covers off and the room's very cold. That's what probably brought it on. You forget it, darling. The dream won't come back.
We talked for a while, and Horace dozed off. But I remained wide awake. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. I even tried counting sheep. While I was counting, I got a sick feeling the walls were really closing in on me. I continued to count. 14, 15, 16, 17. The walls were coming closer. I mustn't believe it. It was my imagination. Only in mind. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I could feel the walls hovering over me. Moving silently this time. 23, 24, 25, 26.
Karen! Get some water quickly. The curtains are on fire.
They were on fire. The flames were creeping up the curtains.
Here, help me pull the curtains down.
Here's the water. How did they catch on fire, Horace?
Well, there's a book of matches on the floor, Karen. Here's a burnt-out match.
I didn't do it. Oh, believe me, Horace, I swear I didn't.
Darling, you haven't been feeling well lately. I think you ought to see Dr. Gustafson. I'm
you
sure
don't
that...
believe me. I wouldn't do anything like that. I couldn't.
You probably weren't aware of it. Probably nothing serious. Dr. Gustafson's a very good man. Now, Karen. Don't be a baby, darling. All of us get ill sometimes.
Dr. Gustafson is a little man with sharp eyes. I told him the whole story about the walls and the dream. Tried to be at ease. There was a mirror on his desk, and as I talked, I kept fixing my hair. Didn't look so well today. 2 new gray hairs which I had to pull out. Kept watching me very closely. All the time asked me questions about my youth. I told him everything, even about winning the beauty contest when I was 17. He seemed very interested.
Mrs. Jeremy, seems to me you have an obsession about being beautiful. You're not as young as you used to be. Neither is your appearance. That's why you're afraid of close scrutiny. That may account for your fear of close spaces.
Went on like that, looking at me as though I were a drab, middle-aged woman. He didn't like me, and I didn't like him. I didn't like the way he spoke to me, the way he watched me.
Karen! Put the letter opener down.
I was just holding it.
You'll hurt somebody holding it that way, darling.
No harm was meant, I'm sure. The first thing you should do, Mr. Jeremy, is to get larger living quarters. Your wife may be suffering from acute claustrophobia, among other things.
I was glad the visit to that horrid little Dr. Gustafson didn't influence Horace at all. He still loved me. Told me I was the loveliest woman in all the world. One day he came home in great excitement.
Darling, I've got a wonderful surprise for you. I've just bought the famous meadow mansion.
Oh, Horace, do be careful. You mussed my hair. What is this meadow mansion?
Well, it belonged to John Aiken. You know, the famous naturalist.
Mm-hmm.
He was killed, poor fellow, in an auto accident. It's a huge house, and you won't be troubled by walls ever. Come on now, darling. We have to see the agent and sign lots of papers.
We went to the agent's office. Mr. Swanson was his name. A very friendly old man. He kept looking at me all the time he was talking.
Mr. Swanson, we'd like to take occupancy of the house right away.
I don't think it's a good idea, Mr. Jeremy. You see, there's still a lot of Mr. Aiken's property in the house, and...
Oh, well, we don't mind that.
You don't understand. It's specimens Mr. Aiken's left there, animals and snakes. They're waiting to be shipped to the zoo.
Well, there's nothing to worry about. They're in cages, aren't they?
It'd be very unpleasant if they weren't. Scared to death of snakes myself. If we only wait a few more days, they'll all be shipped out.
Oh, don't worry about it. We'll leave the animals strictly alone. We've just got to move in right away.
Well, the house is so big, I guess you can manage. Here are the keys, and good luck to you both.
Meadow Mansion was magnificent. It was big and gracious. The rooms were huge and beautifully decorated. The high ceilings gave you a wonderful feeling of freedom. But the drawing room was loveliest of all. A large prism chandelier hung in the middle of the room, and the walls were paneled halfway up to the ceiling. But most exciting of all, each wooden panel had a darling little mirror set into it. There were easily 100 such mirrors. Oh, it was very gay. You could see images of yourself anywhere in the room. It was all breathtakingly beautiful. Except for a picture on the wall of a very flashy-looking woman called Delilah.
Well, darling, how do you like our new home?
Oh, it's wonderful, Horace. I love it all. Everything. Except that picture.
Oh, you mean Delilah? Well, that's a fine painting, dear, of a very beautiful woman.
Well, she looks evil to me.
Darling, I do believe you're jealous. You needn't be. She isn't half as pretty as you are. Alice, answer the door, please.
We didn't talk about the picture anymore because Mr. Swanson, the agent, came in to see how we were getting on. I left Horace talking to him, and I wandered into the next room. There were a dozen cages standing near the fireplace, ready to be shipped off to the zoo. There were mostly snakes and lizards in the cages. All of them were quite motionless, except one. It was labeled Bushmaster, Venezuela. Very odd name for a reptile. Fearfully ugly, yet it fascinated me. About 4 feet long, fat and clumsy looking, yet it slid round the cage with wonderful grace. Kept moving round and round, trying so hard to get out. It looked at me pleadingly. And then I found my hand on the safety catch. I drew it away in horror. It kept going round and round the 4 glass walls. Must be maddening to have walls so close they touch you all the time. I remembered what a terrible feeling it was to be frightened of walls. Then suddenly, the snake was in the middle of the floor.
Karen, don't move. Good heavens. It's out of the cage. Stand still, Karen.
I didn't move. Not one bit. I wasn't frightened. I was only wondering how it had escaped from the cage. The snake lay there in the middle of the floor with its head up, hissing. And it started to move. It slid in a wide circle toward Horace and Mrs. Swanson.
It's coming towards me. I've got to get out of here. Oh, run!
But he didn't listen to Horace. He started running and the snake struck him. It struck him twice in the left. Then he continued running past me. And suddenly he fell. Horace picked up a chair. He smashed it down on the snake. He smashed it again and again and again until it was dead.
His body is swelling. He's dying.
I didn't open the cage. I swear to you I didn't. It got out by itself. Oh, the door must have been loose. Please believe me, Horace. I didn't open it. I couldn't have opened it. You must believe me. You must. Oh, you must.
You know, I'm really upset about poor Mr. Swanson. He hardly opened his mouth in the story when he was out like a light. Not a nice way to make an exit. I'm really sorry we had to lose the Bushmaster. A very valuable reptile, and we could have used it in another story. But that's the way it is in our business. Our losses are terrific. Houses burn down, money is stolen, characters die away on us. Every week it's something else. It's simply murder.
You do have a lot of trouble, don't you, Mr. Host?
Mary, we have so much trouble on Inner Sanctum, even our troubles have trouble.
I think there are times when all of us feel that trouble is piling up on us. But you know, friends, I've found a good way to get over that feeling. Just say to yourself, I'm going to relax and have a cup of Lipton tea. Then when you're comfortably seated with your teacup within easy reach, give your mind something pleasant to think about. That Lipton tea, for instance. Notice Lipton's deep amber color and its welcome, familiar fragrance that's so tempting. Then taste it and discover how really delicious that brisk flavor is. Just for real enjoyment any time during the day, just take a few minutes out to enjoy a piping hot cup of brisk-flavored Lipton tea.
Well, I'll certainly give your suggestion a try, Mary. And now, friends, if you'll give me your hand, we'll go on with the story. Or would you rather take yourself in hand? Things are going to be a little rugged from now on, so take a firm stand, sit tight, and buckle down. And it won't be a bad idea to grit your teeth and square your shoulders at the same time. By the way, if you can do all those things at once, let me congratulate you. You're quite an athlete. Well, here she is, Karen Jeremy.
I was ill for a long time. I don't remember how long, weeks, maybe months. Horace never spoke about that horrible afternoon. And after a while, I stopped thinking about it. I liked my new home. Meadow Mansion was such a beautiful place, I rarely left it. I loved best of all the drawing room, with its darling little mirrors and the wooden panels. I could see myself from all sides. It was so much fun. My absurd fear of walls was beginning to fade away. There was only one thing that irritated me. That was the picture of Delilah. I was determined to get rid of it.
Karen, stop glaring at that picture.
I don't like it, Horace. I wish we'd get rid of it.
It's a fine work of art. Why?
I don't care. It's an evil picture to me.
Karen, look here. You're just jealous of her. You're jealous of any beautiful woman, even if she's only a painting.
You don't care for me anymore.
That is a ridiculous thing to say. You know it's not true.
If you really love me, you take that picture down off the wall.
That picture is staying right where it is. Now, it's for your own good. I'm going out for a walk. And, Karen, I absolutely forbid you to touch that picture. I'm in it.
I sat there for quite a while, staring at that picture that was upsetting my life with Horace. He was always kind and gentle with me. For the first time he'd ever lost his temper. I looked at Delilah. There was a gleam of white teeth between her full lips. She was an abandoned-looking thing. Her long hair cunningly untidy. Her eyes sparkling, black, shameless. She seemed to be laughing at me. I made up my mind. Horace would understand. I got a knife from the kitchen, and I pulled a chair over to the picture. And I stood up on the chair, then began to slash down the length of the picture. Mrs. Jarrett, what are you doing? It's no business of yours. Go away, Alice. Oh, you mustn't do that. Mr. Jeremy will be angry. I told you it's none of your business. Please come down off that chair. You're destroying a beautiful painting. You meddling little fool. I'll teach you to interfere. Mrs. Jeremy, I've put up with you for a long time. Nobody's ever dared to slap me. You vicious, miserable hag. That's what you are, a hag. For years I've pampered you. I've always told you how beautiful you were, how lovely you looked. Well, maybe you were beautiful once, but now you're just a self-centered, haggard old woman. But just look at your face. She was lying on the floor, silent, bleeding. I didn't stab her. It wasn't me. It couldn't be me. I wouldn't do such a thing. I looked at myself in the paneled mirror. I looked pale. My hair was all untidy. And I thought of Horace. He would never believe I didn't do it. He'd look at me in that piercing, sad way. No, he mustn't see the body. I must hide it before he gets back. I dragged her over to the closet. And I hid her body in the corner. I locked the door with a key. There was blood on my hand. I don't know how it got there. But I had to wash it off. And the knife, it threw it in the garbage pail. There was blood on the carpet, too. I took a scatter rug and carefully placed it over the spot. And I sat down and waited for Horace to come home. The room was very queer. The chandelier seemed to be lower. All the walls, they seemed to be closer. I sat there fighting off that old terror. praying and praying that Horace would come home. As soon as he came, I'd put my arms around him and never let him go again. Never, never, never let him go. And I heard the doorknob turning. I hurried over to the door.
Hello, Karen.
Oh, darling, 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 I'm so sorry. It was all my fault. Please forgive me, Horace. I can't bear your being angry with me. Please say you forgive me.
That's all right, Karen. I shouldn't have lost my... What happened to the painting? It's cut.
I don't know what came over me. But you see, I didn't cut it all. I stopped. It's just cut a little. I can repair it. It'll be just as good as new. I'll never do it again. I swear I'll never touch it.
Well, it's not too badly damaged. I'll get Alice to take it over to the art shop. Maybe they can repair it.
Oh, Alice isn't here. She's gone to get your blue coat from the tailor's.
Karen, that is not true. Alice got that coat this morning. Where is she?
I don't know where she is.
Karen, you do know. Where is she?
She was here just a little while ago. She must have gone out.
Alice! Alice! I'm going to find her.
No. Please don't leave me. Please, Horace.
Tell me where she is, Karen.
I can't remember. I can't remember anything.
Karen, did you do anything to her?
No, nothing.
You're not telling me the truth. Something has happened to her and you're hiding it. Now, I'm going to find her. She must be somewhere.
No, she isn't in the house.
How do you know she's not here if you don't know where she is?
I didn't mean that.
I'm going to look around. All right. There's blood on the floor near the closet.
Yes, I cut my finger.
Closet is locked. Have you the key, Karen?
No, I don't have it.
Karen, give me that key. Karen! You killed her!
No. I didn't kill her. I couldn't do such a thing. I saw her lying there on the floor, so I hid her in the closet because I didn't think you'd believe me. But I didn't kill her. I didn't do it.
I'm going to get Dr. Gustafson, Karen. Maybe he can help.
Please don't go. I can't bear being alone. The walls, they'll crush me if you leave.
I'll be back as soon as I can.
He left me in the room all alone. I looked at myself in the mirror. All my beauty was gone. I looked haggard. I wasn't beautiful anymore. My face was all wrinkled and pale. My hair hung down lifelessly. I was ugly. I mustn't let Horace see me now. I looked evil. I bolted the door. I didn't want him to come back and see me looking this way. He would hate me. The walls were moving again. They were very clever. They waited for Horace to leave. They were afraid of him. I looked at myself again in the mirror. There were dozens of me. Then something very strange happened. All the images of me began to come out of the mirrors, right into the room. It was incredible. They were all ugly. They kept coming out of one mirror, going back into another. I watched them. They began to move very fast, in and out, in and out, in and out. It made my eyes hurt to watch them. The walls were moving slowly, but they couldn't fool me. I knew they were moving because the picture of Delilah was nearer than ever. She was still laughing at me. I could even hear her laughing. She pushed one leg out of the picture frame, then the other. She came slowly toward me.
Hello, Karen. Don't you think I'm beautiful?
I didn't answer her, but she kept on talking to me.
I'm Delilah, and I'm going to cut off your hair.
I couldn't stop her. She laughed as she cut my hair. It made me very, very sad. I began to cry. She began to cut faster and faster because the walls were very close now. I could even feel their coldness.
Don't be
frightened, Karen.
I turned around. A man I never had seen before. He had a kind, good face. He looked at me tenderly, admiringly.
I'm Meadow, the spirit of his love. You mustn't be afraid of me. I think you're beautiful. I've always admired you. You're even lovelier than Delilah.
Oh, please help me, Mr. Meadow. The walls are so close. They're going to crush me.
If you get into the picture frame, they won't be able to harm you. Quickly, before Delilah comes back.
Open the door.
Hurry. You'd better hurry and climb into the frame, Karen, before it's too late.
Alan, open the door.
Hurry. You haven't much time. You'll be safe inside the picture.
Miss, her head in the picture frame. Karen, you cut your hair off. It's amazing. She looks 20 years younger. And she's beautiful.
I'm safe now, darling. The walls can never get me. Ever.
I think we did rather well tonight. Two of our characters were gathered to their forefathers. I'm sort of sorry about that maid. She seemed like a nice sort, and I don't think it was quite kind to be so cutting to her. But that ranting agent, you couldn't get an apartment out of him anyhow. As for our heroine, it's true we didn't kill her off, but we certainly framed her.
Well, it couldn't have been a very pretty picture, Mr. Host.
No, Mary, but you'll have to admit it was remarkably lifelike.
Well, while you're admiring it, I have a few words for our friends listening in. You know, some people tie a string around their finger to remind them of things. Well, I'm not going to ask you folks to do that. All I want you to do is just remember all the good things I've told you about Lipton tea, and let them remind you to get a package of Lipton's tomorrow. Lipton's wonderful, brisk flavor, its full-bodied goodness mean more contentment in your teacup. Remember, Lipton's is the tea that gives you extra pleasure and extra satisfaction. Ask your grocer for a package tomorrow.
Well, that should be easy to remember, Mary. Well, friends, it's time to close the squeaking door until next Tuesday, when we'll get together again for another killing time. Oh, by the way, this month's Inner Sanctum mystery novel is The Pavilion by Hilda Lawrence. Yes, in next week's Inner Sanctum story, directed by Himan Brown and brought to you by Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup. Next week's story is called The Edge of Death. Feeling a little edgy already? It's a very interesting story. Yeah, it's sort of a mixture of Russian legend and modern psychiatry that tells of a beautiful and sinister old sword. But I'm sure you'll get the point. So, until we meet on the edge of death next Tuesday, good night. Pleasant dreams.
Here's a grand dish to get your dinner off to a good start. Lipton's Noodle Soup. It has all the homemade goodness and real chickeny flavor your family loves. Lipton's Noodle Soup is seasoned to perfection, and it's full of tender, golden noodles. Hard to prepare? Not a bit. It takes only a few quick minutes from package to soup plate. Economical, too. Costs less and makes lots more than canned soups. So get Lipton's Noodle Soup mix tomorrow. And don't forget to tune in next Tuesday night for another Inner Sanctum mystery.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup present Inner Sanctum Mysteries. evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. Welcome. Come right in. There's room enough for everybody. As a matter of fact, the more bodies, the better. Don't be surprised by the gloom. It's our new paint job. In black, so the bloodstains won't show.
Why, Mr. Host, that's an awful thing to say. Giving all these nice people the wrong impression about our program.
Oh, on the contrary, Mary. You know very well that our proceedings here are rather terrifying and our little family a bit on the gruesome. Of course, it used to be different in the old days of Inner Sanctum, but since then we grew some.
We have indeed, Mr. Host. But now, while you're busy making last-minute arrangements, I'm going to enjoy a chat with our Lipton listeners. When you tip up the teapot and pour yourself out a cup of Lipton tea, what a lively, inviting fragrance curls up from the cup to greet you. And above all, what sheer delight there is in Lipton's delicious taste. You say to yourself, there must be a reason why Lipton tea is so much more enjoyable than any tea I've ever tasted. And friends, there is. It's Lipton's brisk flavor. Briskness in a tea is what folks like. And brisk is the very word the tea experts themselves use to describe Lipton's hearty, more flavorful goodness. So no wonder tea drinkers love Lipton so much. Unlike ordinary, dull-tasting teas, Lipton's has a world of fresh, lively, full-bodied flavor. And because it's brisk-tasting, more people buy and enjoy Lipton's than any other brand of tea in the world. Chances are you'll prefer it, too. Try this tangy, more flavorful tea soon. It's Lipton tea. Brisk-flavored Lipton tea.
And now, friends, draw up your chairs. Dim the lights and listen to a story designed to freeze the spine and set the teeth on edge. It was written by Michael Sklar and Richard Manoff, and it's called The Confession. And our star is Santos Ortega, who plays the role of Alex.
The last thing I remembered was the gunshot, the thud of the bullet, and the burning pain in my stomach. Then everything got black. When I regained consciousness, my impression was of blinding whiteness.
There, don't try to move, Mr. Sturgis.
Where am I?
This is the emergency ward of the General Hospital.
I felt no pain. Just an overall numbness and a desire to sleep. Am I going to die?
Yes.
How much time have I got?
A couple of hours.
Doctor, I want to make confession. I want to confess to murder. I told the doctor about the money and to know she was much younger than I. And she thought because I owned a little drugstore, I must be prosperous. And I suppose that's why she married me in spite of the difference in our ages. But there wasn't any money for fun or nice clothes. So she became restless. But I loved her. And I did my best. Until the other night in the drugstore.
It's 12 o'clock, thank heaven. Time to close up, Alex.
5 more minutes, dear. Another customer might come along.
Just like an old man chasing pennies, never getting anything out of life.
Be reasonable, dear. I'm trying to make a living for us.
Is this your idea of a living? Is this what you promised me before we were married?
I know it's not what you deserve, Lenore, but someday...
Oh, you make me sick. I must have been crazy when I married you.
Lenore.
I'm going to say something I've had on my mind for a long time, Alex. Rather than go on this way, I'd prefer to be dead. Look at you. I don't have to put up with you. I'm still young, Alex.
So there it was. Out in the open. An old man with money would have been acceptable. But because I had no money, she was going to leave me. I wanted to plead with her. I would have gotten down on my knees. But before I could say anything, the street door opened. And a man stumbled into the store.
Oh, Alex, look!
Help me. Quick. I'm wounded.
I helped the man to a chair. He'd been shot on the chest, and the front of his coat was covered with blood. His breathing came hard.
Bullet in my chest. Patch me up.
I'm only a pharmacist. You need a doctor.
I'll call Dr. Johnson.
No, I don't want any doctor. I want you to help me.
Is it because doctors must report bullet wounds? Is that why you want a doctor?
Never mind my reason. I got plenty of dough. I'll give you $500 to take care of me.
Well, I'd better call the police.
No, lady, no. Look, mister, take care of me. Keep it quiet. I'll give you $1,000.
$1,000? Let me see the money.
Here's a $1,000 bill, but I got plenty more.
Oh, no. Help me take him into the back room.
Oh, but Alex.
No, I'll take him myself. You get busy and wipe the blood off the floor.
Oh, no, you can't.
Wipe up the blood. Do as I say, Lenore.
What's taking you so long?
I'm looking for a certain medicine among these bottles.
Give me something to stop the bleeding. Hurry.
I'll be ready for you soon. Oh, Lenore, did you get the floor clean?
Yes, it's clean. How is he?
He's in bad shape. Weak from loss of blood.
Alex, you haven't done anything for him yet.
Be quiet.
But you've been in here 5 minutes and he's just like he was before. Alex, you're stalling.
Oh, the hell.
Alex.
Let him lay there.
But he's dying.
I know.
Alex, call the police.
No.
Are you going to let him die?
Yes.
But that's as bad as murder.
I didn't shoot him. It's not my fault if he dies. Lenore, he's got money. Thousands of dollars. No one knows he came here. This is our chance, Lenore.
What do you mean?
I'm going to let him die. Take his money, and then get rid of his body. He lay still. I stooped and went through his jacket. There was a wallet containing a few $1 bills and a driver's license, which I handed to Lenore.
His name is James Kirk. He lives in Hillsborough.
His pockets were crammed full of bills of large denominations. Lenore watched, fascinated, as I counted.
How much is it, Alex?
A little over $78,000. We're rich, Lenore.
I'm frightened.
There's nothing to be afraid of. All we have to do now is wait until he dies and get rid of the body.
Do you need me to help you?
No, I can manage alone. This body's heavy. Yeah. It's through the door.
Oh, Alex, he's still alive.
Yes.
What are you going to do now?
It'd be dangerous to wait here until he dies. Anyway, what difference does it make? He'll be dead when he goes into the water.
No, that's murder.
Call it what you like. We've gone too far now to stop. You wait in the car. I'm going to carry him to the edge of the pier and drop him over the side. He's gone. I watched Kirk's body sink into the water. And I knew the current in the bay would carry it out to sea. One doesn't picture a middle-aged druggist committing a perfect crime. But I felt sure that I had done it. For I had Kirk's money, and it seemed that no one could connect his death to me. I rejoined Lenore in the car, started for home. After I'd driven for a few minutes, I noticed she was strangely quiet. What's the matter, dear?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Something's troubling you. What is it?
Nothing.
You act as though you're afraid of me.
No.
You are afraid of me. Lenore, why?
I never saw you act this way before. Something's happened to you. You're different.
Oh, nonsense.
Don't you feel it, Alex? You're a murderer.
No.
You wouldn't even wait until he was dead.
Listen to me, Lenore. Whatever I did for your sake. I wanted the money for you, so you could be happy.
Oh, how can I be happy with this thing hanging over us?
had breakfast the next morning in absolute silence. Then Lenore went to open the store. While I wrapped the money in a parcel, took it to the bank, placed it in my box in the safe deposit vault. No one paid any attention to me, although the bank was swarming with police detectives. From the bank, I went directly to the drugstore and found a man there waiting for me.
Mr. Sturgis?
Yes?
Biggert is my name. Mark Biggert.
What can I do for you?
I'm an insurance company detective, Mr. Sturgis. I'm investigating the First National Bank robbery for my company. I want you to tell me everything you know about that robbery.
Don't say I didn't warn you about Alex Sturgis at the beginning of our story. You know, he's quite a guy for an oldish man. A real killer. He thinks death begins at 40.
Mr. Host, I think Alex Sturgis is a perfectly dreadful person.
Oh, but he's a good druggist, Mary. Just the man to go to if you have to fill a prescription for murder.
Well, we've certainly had plenty of prescriptions for murder, mayhem, and arson on our program, Mr. Host. But now I've got something different, a prescription for enjoyment. The directions are pleasantly simple. First, just stretch out in an easy chair in front of the fireplace. Then make sure there's a cup of brisk-flavored Lipton tea at your side, and your pleasure will be complete. There's just nothing more delightfully good than the zestful flavor of Lipton tea. It's so bright and refreshing and satisfying. Its familiar, welcome fragrance seems to fill the whole room with summer. And how beautifully its deep amber color fits the scene. A color as warm and cheery as the flames dancing on the hearth. Now there's a real prescription for enjoyment. Try it tomorrow with a piping hot cup of delicious, brisk-flavored Lipton tea.
Well, that should be a very pleasant prescription to take, Mary. And now, friends, let's get on with our story. Lying on a hospital bed, Alex Sturgis has confessed to the murder of a bank robber who entered his drugstore in much the same manner as the fly who entered the spider's parlor. Alex pocketed the robber's loot and dumped him, still alive, into the bay. An insurance company detective has just come in to question him.
He was a big man, but not fat, this detective. And although he didn't appear to be very intelligent, he had a look of cunning. His clothes were rumpled, and he rolled an unlit cigar around in his mouth as he spoke.
Suppose you start from the beginning, Sturgis.
There's nothing to talk about, Biggert. I don't know anything about the robbery.
You don't, eh?
No, I don't. Why should you come here annoying me with silly questions?
I'll tell you why I'm here, Sturgis, and then maybe you'll see your way clear to talk. You know the bank was robbed last night, and the crook got away with better than $78,000?
Yes?
The night watchman was shot. He's in a coma now, but before he was shot, he shot one of the crooks.
What does that have to do with me?
I'm coming to you, Sturgis. I'm a slow man, but I'm thorough, which is more than you can say for the harness bulls on the police force. Take those harness bulls. They didn't spot the trail of blood that wounded crook left when he ducked on the alley behind the bank. Funny thing, they clean missed it. But I noticed it, Sturgis. I followed it through the alley and straight up this street. And here's another peculiar thing. The trail ended right smack at the door of this drugstore.
Are you implying...
2 and 2 makes 4, Sturgis. As I said, I'm not a fancy-pants detective, but here's how I figure it. This yegg was wounded, so he came in here and asked you to fix him up, which you did. In exchange, he gave you a nice big piece of the tape to keep your mouth shut. Am I right, Sturgis?
You're 100% wrong.
If you were smart, you'd talk now and save yourself a lot of grief.
I've got nothing to tell you.
Suit yourself, Sturgis. But here's my business card. In case you change your mind, you can reach me at the Hotel Empire. By the way, the company is offering a $5,000 reward for the return of that money.
I'm not interested. Good day.
Okay. It's your neck, Sturgis. I'll be seeing you.
Alex, I heard what he said. He knows.
I should have thought of the blood outside.
Well, how can you stand there and act so calm about it? He knows, I tell you.
Take hold of yourself and know. He only suspects, and his suspicions aren't worth 2 cents unless he can produce evidence. Believe me,
We've got nothing to worry about.
I was cocky then. Too cocky. Lenore was right. I was a changed man. That money had put iron into my spine. And then, that afternoon, I got the first of the phone calls. Hello? Sturgis Drugstore.
This is Western Union calling. I have a telegram from Mr. Alex Sturgis.
This is he speaking.
Will you accept the message over the telephone, Mr. Sturgis?
Yes, of course.
The message reads as follows. Place the money in an envelope and mail it to box number 11, General Post Office. Don't fail to act as instructed because your future depends on it.
Is, that all?
That's all, Mr. Sturgis. There is no signature.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, it was bad enough having that detective snooping around, but now this telegram. Oh, don't take any more chances, Alex. Send the money.
No.
Alex, please. I'm frightened.
Listen, Lenore. Calm yourself. It's perfectly clear what happened. One of the bank robbers came with Kirk as far as the store. He must have been frightened away by the police. Now he's using this method to get the money. But he won't get it.
Why? What are you going to do?
I'm going to put a wad of blank paper in an envelope and mail it to that post office box. Then I'll stand watch at the post office and see who claims it.
And then what?
That money means everything to us, Lenore. I've already killed one man for it. If necessary, I'll commit another murder. I placed blank strips of paper in an envelope and mailed the envelope to that post office box. The next morning, I went to the post office and stood near the window, waiting for someone to come along and claim the envelope in box number 11. Hours passed. I got hungry. My legs began to shake from exhaustion. But I couldn't leave that spot. I meant to stay there until...
What are you waiting here for, Sturgis?
A voice cut through my thoughts. I looked up. It was Kelly, the policeman. He was suspicious.
The clerk noticed you hanging around and called for a cop.
It's nothing, Kelly. I arranged to meet my wife here. She's late.
I saw your wife through the drugstore window as I came up the street. She must have forgotten all about your appointment. You'd better get back to the store, Sturgis.
I couldn't stay there after that. I walked around the block. When I came back, the policeman had disappeared. I entered, went to the window, and asked the clerk if anyone had claimed the mail in box 11. He nodded. The letter was gone. My plan to discover the identity of Kirk's confederate had failed. There was nothing to do but go back to the drugstore. It was empty. I felt a sense of danger as soon as I entered. So I closed the street door quietly and walked as silently as I could to the door of the back room. It was open. Lenore was at the telephone.
Hello. Hello, Empire? Hotel? Hello. Connect me with Mr. Biggert, please. Yes. Mr. Mark Biggert.
Hang up, Lenore. Hang up the receiver.
Alex!
You were calling that detective.
Suppose I was. What of it?
You were going to tell him about the money. You were going to double-cross me for the reward.
You're so smart, Alex. What are you going to do about it?
Lenore, don't you understand? I don't want the money for myself. I took it for you, to give you the things that will make you happy.
Big-hearted, unselfish Alex.
What are you laughing at?
I'll tell you why you took that money, Alex. You thought you could buy me with it. Well, you're wrong. I wouldn't stay with you if you had all the money in the world.
Lenore, would you leave me? After all that's happened?
I'm packing up right now.
No.
You can't stop me.
I love you, Lenore. I did my best to hold you. If I can't have you, no one else will have you.
What do you mean? Alex, stay away from me.
I'm going to kill you, Lenore.
Alex, no. Don't.
I'm going to kill you, my darling.
Let go of my throat. Alex, please. Let go.
She's dead. All men kill the thing they love. And I've killed you, Lenore. I felt empty, Drained of all emotion. I buried her body in the cellar of the drugstore. I was even a bit glad that it ended in this fashion. For now Lenore would be with me forever. Did I say it was ended? I was wrong. I found no peace. For the very next morning, Bigot came to the drugstore.
Good morning, Sturgis. Nice morning, isn't it?
What do you want?
Just stopped by to have a chat, Sturgis. Been giving a lot of thought to the First National Bank robbery. You know, that night watchman came out of his coma this morning.
Why, tell me about it.
I thought you might be interested. Here's an angle, Sturgis. The watchman says the robbery was pulled by only one man. One single crook, and he was shot. Nice angle, isn't it?
Is it?
Yes, it gave me a new idea, Sturgis. Now, I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but I figure it this way. That crook came in here and asked you to fix him up.
We've gone through this before.
I'm going to take it a little further, Sturgis. The crook asked you to fix him up, but you got a peek at all that money. So you let him die, took the money, and disposed of the body. How's that for a theory?
Very clever. But can you produce the body?
No, the police haven't been able to locate it, but I'm not discouraged, Sturgis. Those harness bulls aren't very smart. I'll find that body.
And when you do?
I'm an insurance company, Dick Sturgis. I want that $78,000. When I find that body, I'll come around here and you'll cough it up.
I've told you before, I know nothing about that robbery or the money. Now I've got work to do. Suppose you run along.
Okay, Sturgis. So long.
Hello. Sturgis Drugstore.
Western Union calling. I have a telegram from Mr. Alex Sturgis.
This is he speaking. Read it to me, please.
The message reads as follows. Received your letter. Contents not what requested. Suggest you obey instructions. Same box number and post office. This is final.
Is there a signature?
No, sir. There's no signature, Mr. Sturgis.
I hung up. My head was reeling. But out of the confusion in my mind, one thought emerged. The night watchman had said Kirk had no Confederates in the bank robbery. Therefore, the person sending me the telegram must be Kirk. The salt water of the bay must have revived him. Kirk was still alive. I found Kirk's wallet on a shelf where Lenore had placed it the night all this began. From the driver's license, I copied his home address. I waited till after midnight and drove to Hillsboro, where I found Kirk's apartment in an old tenement building. The door was unlocked. I drew out my gun and entered. I meant to kill Kirk. I had to kill him. The living room was empty. No one was in the bedroom. I turned, walked back to the living room.
Drop that gun, Sturgis. Big, drop the gun, quick. I'm not taking any chances with you.
How did you know?
How did I know you were going to come here, Sturgis? Sit down in that chair by the table and I'll tell you.
You sent the telegram?
Yes, I sent them.
You got me to think that Kirk was still alive.
That's right.
And you followed me here. You trailed me.
It's all clear now, isn't it, Sturgis? You take 2 and 2 and add it up and it comes out 4. Now, where's the money?
The money?
We're going to cut out the cute stuff, Sturgis. I want that money. Now, where is it?
It's in a medicine jar on a shelf in the back room of the drugstore.
All right, let's go, Sturgis. First, you'll give me the money, then I'll take you down to police headquarters.
We drove to the drugstore. I led him into the back room. I knew exactly what I was going to do. On one of the shelves was a bottle of hydrochloric acid. Bigot thought it was the bottle containing the money. I reached up, uncorked the bottle, and flung the burning liquid into his...
I'm blind. I'll kill you for this, Sturgis. If I could only see you. Where are you, Sturgis? Sturgis, where are you?
I was huddled against the wall. He stood between me and the door, screaming in pain, firing his gun blindly. The first 3 shots missed, but the 4th bullet struck me in the stomach. The last thing I remember is Bigot running out of that room, shouting for help. I lost consciousness soon after. When I came to, I found myself here in this hospital. You know the rest of the story, Doctor.
That's your confession, eh?
That's my confession.
Did you get all that down on paper, Mr. Biggert?
Got every word of it, Doctor.
How did you get here? I thought hydrochloric acid.
You thought you blinded me permanently, but not enough of the stuff get into my eyes to do any real damage.
Lenore.
He's dead, Biggert.
I've seen a lot of funny cases in my time, Doc, but this beats them all. He's a man who commits murder to get a lot of stolen money for his wife. Then he kills his wife. And finally, he gets killed himself. And the money? The money is safe and sound in the bank safe deposit vault.
Oh, what a pity. Exit Sturgis. Yes, Biggert smoked him out just like a poor fish. Smoked Sturgis. Think of it, a respectable pharmacist ending up that way, and all because of his wife.
Now, there you go again, Mr. Host. Always blaming it on a woman.
Oh, come, Mary. You know very well that was Lenore's fault. If you ask me, Alex should have tossed her aside and tended to his bismuth. He never would have been nabbed by the copper. But the fool, he didn't think of it. Now the world is iridium.
Goodness, Mr. Host. Well, after all that, I hope you won't mind if I get serious for a moment, because I have a very important message for our listeners. Friends, the 1946 March of Dimes is now in its final week, and your contribution is needed as never before. Every year, thousands of children are stricken by infantile paralysis. Your dimes and dollars guarantee expert medical treatment and continuing care for these children, so give generously. Send your dimes and dollars to your local March of Dimes headquarters. Join the March of Dimes.
And now, friends, a word of advice to all prospective murderers. Never fall in love with your victim because, as Oscar Wilde found out, it's so embarrassing to kill the thing you love. Oh, by the way, this month's Inner Sanctum mystery novel is The Pavilion by Hilda Lawrence. Next week, the makers of Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup will bring you another Inner Sanctum mystery directed by Himan Brown and called The Blood of Cain. It's a grim little story of a New Orleans family with a fine old tradition of murder. Yes, this family tree casts a shadow of death. So, if you're able, tune in next Tuesday and we'll all raise Cain. Until then, good night. Pleasant dreams.